and then we'll actually start the show in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do need you to sound check.
Get ready.
It worked.
I could hear it.
Get ready to laugh out loud.
I always forget the music's a bit quieter than.
Oh, it was plenty good for me.
Yeah, me too.
Cool.
Volume wise.
Mm-hmm.
Good. Oh, I need to close Discord so I don't get bloop.
Bloop.
Way to get quiet now that we go live, Joe. Both of you have been like,
My bad. Oh, hey, random kid's already here.
Random kid.
Where is Kurt tonight? You told me he wasn't going to be here tonight, but
he's on his cruise, or he's on, or heading that way, or whatever. He's got a vacation this week.
Okay, all right. Yeah, we need to get.
Vacations are nice.
What's that?
I said vacations are nice.
Mm-hmm. Except when you go with little kids, and then you need a vacation from your vacation.
Yeah, that's a true statement.
Yes.
True story.
That's why this year I've started to buffer an extra day on anytime I request PTO for a vacation.
Nice.
So
That's the way to do it.
Yeah. I've noticed that I use less PTO now that I'm working from home. And so at the end of the year, I've been needing to burn PTO anyway, so I might as well just buffer my vacations.
Makes sense.
So I got to like November.
Why are you still bleeping me?
I got to like November this last year, and I was like, oh no, I have to use like 7 days of PTO before the end of the year. I lose them.
Oh,
it's like, oh no.
Hey, I'll be more than happy to find you all the cons that you need to use PTO for. I mean, you're going to be using 1 day of PTO, maybe 2. I mean, you might drive up Friday. Most cons don't start till like Friday after lunch if they start on a Friday. So you can drive up in the morning, or you can take Thursday and Friday.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I got you, man.
Where are you guys streaming this?
YouTube and Twitch.
Cool.
So at wise_n_nerdy, both places. So you have access to the chat, don't you? Or no? Do you see it? So like Random Kid is on YouTube.
Okay.
See, it's got the YouTube symbol there.
Yeah. Oh, that makes sense.
And we really do need to start a new Facebook page and stream it there.
Do we though?
Tyra says, yeah, I know.
Okay.
Tyra says yes.
All right.
She's a bit of the boss, so.
If you say so. I say we just stream to the DC Digital Media track.
That's a good idea too.
Facebook.
They have a Facebook?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we don't use it.
Tyra uses
sometimes.
Does anybody use it?
Somebody does. Tyra does. I mean, there's a team of people, and they all do amazing, wonderful things. Facebook, man, it's a weird place to be sometimes, but I feel like it's necessary.
I've been in the comment section. I believe it is a weird place to be sometimes. Nothing. No reaction. He's just so absorbed with whatever he's typing in.
I'm trying to pull this up.
Pitching another con. Thursday nights are my con nights, man. You get me fired up because we did such a great show over at Chattacon. So
yeah, it was a lot of good energy there.
Which, by the way, your idea of doing like a week delay on the podcast has been perfect because 2 weeks in a row I've been busy on the weekends. Chattacon was 2 weeks ago. Last weekend was the anniversary trip. We went up to Virginia, North Carolina, and I didn't have time on the weekend. Normally I do it on Saturday morning while I drink my coffee or whatever. and both weeks I've been able to get in on Thursday before the show, polish it
Oh,
up, and get
there
them
you go.
posted before they're late. So that was a brilliant move, man. It gives us time to catch up.
Yeah. Plus, if we ever have to miss one, then we can double up another week and still not be behind.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
I'm with you, Random Kid. I wish I could go to more cons too. We'll see if my wife lets me.
Mm.
I would love to go to a con sometime. I think that would be the funnest thing.
Well, you know what
Yeah.
else is a super funnest thing?
Pushing the go button.
Get ready to laugh out loud with Wise and Nerdy, the show hosted by two hilarious dads who are bringing their unique blend of wit, wisdom, and nerdiness to the airwaves. From sharing hilarious anecdotes about their own experiences to giving advice on navigating the ups and downs of life, these two dads have got you covered. But that's not all. They're also obsessed with all things nerdy, from comic books and sci-fi movies to video and board games. So whether you're a fellow dad, a pop culture fanatic, or just in need of a good laugh, tune in to Wise and Nerdy and join in the fun.
Hashtag such fun. Such fun. If you know that reference, you can be my friend because I love that show. I am the Rock Out of Podcasting, Charles McFall. That over there is Joseph_Ard.
I do not know that reference. I'm sorry.
That is more of a statement of character.
Also don't know the reference.
Again, I stand on it's more of a statement of character than a fact, but that's okay. And we have our newest lady daddy in the house, SongHeart.
Hi.
Yes, I am going to make it weird like that because it's fatherhood meets fandom. But you know what? That doesn't mean we can't have the lady daddies too. We got lady
I'm very
daddies.
much a lady daddy.
There you go. Thank you for being on, SongHeart. Kurt is off again this week. He's running around. And actually, we had such a good time with Bob. It's like, Kurt, you keep taking off, man. You're just leaving the window open for more awesome people to come in, and then you won't have anywhere to come back to. It's okay, though. I don't love you. I mean, I do love you. It's all right. No, but Kurt is going to be in and out, and just he's got stuff going on, and it's quite all right. That gives us a great chance to talk to new, awesome people like SongHeart herself. And I have every tab open, Joe, except our show notes.
Show notes.
But I do believe
it's the question of the week.
All right. So the question of the week is, what's the best relationship advice you've ever received?
Keeping in mind it's a PG-13 show, and Joe has dated like 50 women.
Well, okay. Let me just say, there's many types of relationships. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic relationships. You could have received excellent advice on any kind of relationship.
That's right. Your wife listens to this show, and she doesn't know. I'm sorry.
She knows.
I love the good brief. So, all right. Relationship. All right. Okay. Your SongHeart, would you like to jump in? What's your best relationship advice?
I think the best relationship advice I ever got was if everyone is telling you to leave, that you probably should before you get stuck with 10 years of trauma.
Yeah, I could see that.
Sounds pretty solid. That sounds like good relationship advice.
That might just be a little bit personal.
This sounds like a very oddly specific reference.
Oh, yeah.
10 years right there.
Yeah, it might be a little bit personal, but really, I don't know that anyone gave me that advice. It's just something that I realized is like when I met my ex, literally everyone told me it was not a good idea. I can't think of one person that was okay with it. And I just didn't listen, but I was also young and stupid. So, but when literally everyone, even the person's mother, is telling you to leave, you probably should.
But what that also tells me is you've got great friends who aren't just gonna be like, "Oh, he's great," when he's not.
Yeah, my friends are fantastic, but I was young and stupid. So.
What about you, Joe? What was your best advice?
Communication Communication is key to any type of relationship, but especially a romantic one. If you don't tell somebody something, don't assume they're going to pick up on your body language or be able to read your mind. And at least in my personal life, I found several instances where I've tried to let my tone speak for itself, and I've realized how petty that really is. Like I know that I'm in a petty mood when I'm being passive aggressive, and I just need to communicate. And so yeah, communication is key. Are you okay there, Charles? You're very confused.
I'm trying to figure out where I rank on this level of relationship, because I don't know that you've ever been petty with me, and I'm kind of thinking now that maybe I look more into this relationship than you do.
Because I'm not petty with you?
Yeah, because I hadn't got to that part where you've been petty with me, so therefore,
or maybe
you didn't
it's
have
because
to really communicate.
We communicate well. Usually we just say what we're thinking. Period. You and I, like, we've always been that way. We don't have to question where we stand with each other.
There's so many jokes in my head, and it's hard to pick up on a few of them. It's just a psychic joke. If you don't get it, don't get it. That's okay.
Okay, handsome.
All right. Honestly, one of my best pieces of advice I got was from a Reader's Digest, of all things. When I was growing up, I would go see my grandmother, and she had the subscription, and the articles sometimes were good, sometimes weren't, but I always flipped through to read the little anecdotes and the jokes and the little stories that were on the little bottoms of the pages and different things. And I just flipped through, and one of them was it was like this like a counseling group or so. I just remember my childhood head picturing like an AA group, but it was for relationships, and they're young couples and old couples, and that question was asked basically, what do you do? What's a good thing about your relationship? And this old lady stand up and said, well, my wedding day, my mama said to write down the 10 things that you think you need to fix about him, or the 10 things that he does that really, really bothers you. And like, oh, wow. Then how'd that work out? She was, I don't know. I lost the list, and that's been perfectly fine ever since. So it was like the whole idea, because the joke is okay. I mean, Reader's Digest was not great jokes, but the idea was, you write down the things that bother you. I mean, not literally, but but if you don't actually keep the list over time, it stops bothering you. And yes, of course, in relationships, you do have to communicate, and you have to do work on things, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But I mean, the biggest piece of advice I could get or give was, don't find the person you can live with. Find the person you can live without. Can't live without, and that's 23 years of marriage I just hit, so there's that. There were road bumps. I was very, very much not trying to make a joke there. That was going to be bad. Joe, for crying out loud,
roll that dice.
Don't let me hang like this and get us in trouble. As you roll, I do want to do Okay. So Random Kid says there's always the cliche, don't go to bed angry because she might stab you in your sleep. Then they say, always find moments to say something nice. Say I love you every day. And excuse me, you can miss a day or two, and it actually makes it a little bit more special, but definitely don't wait till Valentine's Day to do something nice. Don't wait for Christmas. My wife and I, the first year we were dating, that came up on Valentine's Day. We did the standard what you're supposed to do thing and bought each other gifts that were okay. I mean, they weren't like great and forever memories or anything like that. And afterwards, we're like, well, this is kind of cool, but because we'd already been dating for a while, we'd already done little nice things for each other, and we both decided then we're not going to do Valentine's Day because it didn't fit right. It didn't do right. And we found that if you do nice things throughout the year, right? When you see something nice, get them something nice. Joe says, I'm the only present my wife needs. It's about time you realize, sir. I hope she realizes what a catch that she has, and she just gets right with Jesus because of it. But yeah, you just do the little things, favorite candies or flowers or just the randomness of it all throughout the year is much better than I hope I get this really cool thing I've been wanting all year for. He better remember me on Valentine's Day. I mean, up and coming as the right guy of podcasting and building the podcast stuff that I do and all my media, there were 2 or 3 years that I was literally at a conference trying to build my brand on our anniversary. And I'm talking about awesome places like Vegas, and she's at home with the kids, so there was that, but it didn't hurt us or break us because we were in it together and we knew we'd celebrate our anniversary when I got back home. And for all those you go, well, she didn't go to Vegas because the kids were little and we didn't have anybody we trust that could watch them and that kind of thing. And we didn't really have the money to go for a vacation. We just, Anyway, go ahead, Joe.
This conversation made me think of something that Mary Robinette Cole said at Chattacon, which wasn't related to relationship advice at all, but I'm going to spin it that way. She talked about different things in her life that were hiccups that she hated to do and how she would hire somebody to do it.
Yeah.
And so
marry somebody to do the jobs you don't want to do.
Well, I mean, you could go that way, but I was just thinking you can find stuff that your spouse hates to do, and you could go out of your way to do that as an expression of love, showing them. So,
yep. And I know I thought we were running out of steam, and then we picked up more steam. Thank you, random kid, for steaming us up there. That didn't come out right at all. What did the dice bring us, Joe?
Well, before we go to the dice, we have some speak pipes to listen to.
Oh yeah, we do speak pipes before dice. You're right. Keeping it steamy since 1997. All right. I've got the let's see if I can pull this one because it's taking forever to load, but I've already got the first one loaded up. So let me see. One is going to be Barry Folk. The other one is definitively not Barry Folk. So here we go.
Listen to your segment on discipline. Over the years, I've spoken with others my age roughly. So I'm 55 as of December. So,
happy birthday!
Who had the Hot Wheel race car tracks and seriously popular in the late 70s and 80s. And we whoever had these. I don't say whoever, but many of the people who had these things, eventually got tore apart, laid around. But many parents, I apparently discovered, found that these were very effective as a disciplinary tool.
Yeah.
And I'm, really disliked them so much that my brother and I would collect them and we would throw them away once we realized what was happening because we weren't playing with them, the pieces were missing. So, when I go back to discipline, I can think of, I got, I deserved some of what I got, but not the Hot Wheel race car track. That was the devil's tool, man.
No
and made those go away as fast as possible.
As a kid, I wanted Hot Wheels and Hot Wheels race car tracks so bad, wanted it all. And then I grew up, which I never had it. We were poor. I thought I was deprived, all this stuff. But then I hear those stories like was just told. And like, I did okay. I never got beat with the racetrack. So now here's the thing, Joe, we've talked about how I have a theory that Barry Folk and Devo are the same person. One of these buttons was Devo, the other button's Barry. Let's see what we got.
Hey, Charles and Joe, it's Barry. Hope you are doing well.
Well, okay, he said his name, so there goes that game. Thank you, Barry. All right.
Hey, Charles and Joe, it's Barry. Hope you are doing well. I just wanted to send along a note about one of my dad's experiences, which is the adoption of my daughter. You two
yes.
know,
Okay.
but for others, 22 years ago in 2001, we did an adoption, and we went to China to pick up our girl. She was 16 months at the time. Through a variety of reasons, we couldn't conceive biologically, so we looked at different options. And ultimately, for us, adoption was the path that we were led down. It is an absolutely amazing experience that most people don't get the opportunity to experience. But I would like to say that it is something that obviously is life-changing in many ways. To experience the process, to meet these wonderful counselors that helped us, to embrace a new culture into our family, meet the people, in this case of China, who wholeheartedly opened their hearts and literally their homes to us as we had the opportunity to visit China several times. It may be one thing politically, but the people of China are absolutely amazing, and will always be eternally grateful for what they have provided to making my family complete. So just wanted to share. As always, gents, take care. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Barry. That was awesome. I had asked him to maybe share some of that story, and it's I find adoption to be a wild experience, and conceptually, right? You're putting parents who want to love a kid with a kid who needs parents, and I get that. I've at least been so self-aware, 'cause at some point my wife was like, I only want to have so many kids, but I could adopt. And after like the first kid, I was like, yeah, can't do that, because I will damage, because I was damaged. It's like, I mean, it's bad enough to have my own kids and I can work through the damage. It's like I'm self-aware enough that most of the time, by the time you adopt, they're at least 3 or older, because the process takes forever, even if it's a newborn. I mean, and then the kids who really need the help, right, are 10, 11, 12, up through 17, 18, because everybody wants the new baby. And I was like, well, I know I have a lot of damage. I know that I'll go, and I think I sold myself short too. But I've always admired people who could adopt, because I just always thought that I can't, because if I bring in somebody else with their own problems and their own history clashing with my own problems, I wouldn't want to do that to somebody. But what about you two? What have y'all thought about adoption?
Did I don't know if you know this. My wife is adopted. Her
No,
and her
you're
brother.
married. That's different. You do not own her, Joe.
That's not how it works. No, they're my wife and her brother are both adopted. They were both adopted. They were under the age of 1 when they got adopted, and yeah, it's worked out very nicely. Both of them have since found their birth parents, or as Kelsey calls them, her bio donors. And yeah, we this was a few years back. Kelsey and I got some of those ancestry DNA kits, just cuz, and we didn't even think, oh, she's adopted, we might find her birth parents, because I think she had looked for them once before, like half-heartedly, but not really since. And yeah, when we got the test results back, it said these people are close enough to be your parent. And she was like, Joe. So she showed it to me. She's talked to him a few times on Facebook, and she actually, so her bio donors, her bio parents, they actually got married like about a year after she was born. And so biologically, she has 4 full siblings, sisters. And if I showed you a picture of them, you're like, yeah, no, they are definitely sisters. And so I don't think she's had any contact with her biological siblings, but she's talked to her bio parents a couple times on Facebook and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's like they feel more like a relative that you talk to occasionally, rather than anything more substantial. Like, her parents are her parents. And like, these these are my adopted parents. No, these are my parents. And that's why she doesn't even like using the term biological parents. That's why she calls them bio donors, because they're not her parents. Not really.
I get
So
that. Yeah,
sense.
I've heard a lot of good stories that way. What about you, SongHeart?
Well, personally, I really admire people that have it in them to adopt. I like the idea of adoption. I myself was an only child, so I always wanted a lot of kids, but I don't do well now that I am a parent myself. I don't do well watching other people's kids, mostly because I get
Right?
anxiety. If anything were to happen, I'm like, oh no. And just a lot of that comes from my ex and my ex's ex and stuff. But a lot of it also is I I wish I was more mentally healthy enough to adopt. Kind of like what you were saying, Charles. Like I have my own trauma and I don't want to inflict that on other people. um other on children. I inflict it on grown-ups all the time. um um and a lot of my trauma I couldn't help when I had my kids. It was just what the circumstances were at the time. But if I could have done it differently, I would have waited to have my children until I was older. I love my kids to death and I would never change having them. But as far as like adoption goes, adoption's a big step. And kind of like what Joseph was saying, for I found, because I've met people that are adopted and I've read a lot of stories about people that are adopted. For the most part, people that are adopted are their parents are their parents, not their bio donors are not their parents. And so I think that's really an admirable thing for people to be able to know themselves well enough to open themselves up to become parents to other people.
I love it. That's very well said. Random kid says, it went away. What happened?
here, I popped it up. Oh,
Thank you.
There you go.
I hate how expensive adoption is. I wish good parents could adopt without needing to spend thousands of dollars. Yes, but also that's how much it costs to raise a kid too. Just because
Yeah.
you get to skip a few levels, man. That's
Yeah.
the season pass, right? They're just buying 20 more levels of the season pass to get that 4-year-old
Babies
for
are
$1,000.
so expensive.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but I actually agree with Random Kid on this one. They're also saving the government money by adopting, because they're not going to keep them in. They're not going to keep taking care of them past that.
Yeah, they should make it easier. I 100% agree.
Now there should definitely be a vetting process for the parental candidates.
Oh,
100%.
absolutely.
But yeah, the barrier to adoption is so crazy high. There's a reason why you hear all these different adoption stories, and it's getting kids from other countries. And it's because the US, it's such a convoluted process, a convoluted and expensive process.
It's not just that it's a convoluted and expensive process. It's that there are unsavory people that will adopt children to be mules and things like that for unsavory things.
It makes me think of
And
Mary
that's
Kate
not just
and-
conjecture. I actually knew someone that went through that. So
Oh,
yeah.
yeah, it makes me think of the Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen "It Takes Two" movie,
That was
where
a great movie.
where she got adopted by the butt kisses.
Yep.
Yep.
I don't think I know that one, but that's fun.
It was a fun movie.
It was. It was a very fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was Parent Trap-esque.
It was very Parent Trap-esque.
So, but anyway.
But what did the dice have for us?
A number, I think.
A number.
Yes.
Can you dig it?
Which is, what do you think about? Because we really still need to reform those.
I know, right? We've said that for months now. All right.
This one
What
came from you.
it did. We talked about a little bit in the Patreon last week. And I was like, we should make that a thing. What do you guys think about tax returns as savings accounts?
It's a great idea. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
So you're for it. You think
Oh, I'm totally for it. But I say this as someone who's broke and whose tax return is gone in like a week. So
right, but that's how you stay broke.
I know.
I can't infer how much you might get back, but it dawned on me one year where because there's a transition, right, from teenager to married life or whatever, or better jobs where you go from just barely scraping by on taxes and doing the one pager easy file crap to having to file. And for a couple of years, I tried to tweak my taxes to where I didn't have to pay taxes because that was beat into me. It's like, oh, the worst thing that you could ever do is pay taxes. It's not. But I always
There are
tweak them.
worse things.
There are way worse things. And so I got to the point where I tweaked them and tweeted. I was working professionally as a paramedic and finally found like a specialist that could file the taxes for paramedics and know how to claim all the deductions and everything. Because as far as taxes goes, a very niche industry. And I think that year I got back like $8,000. I went from paying stuff and getting like $400 back maybe at H&R Block or something to like this specialty person got me 8,000. My wife like joking around, oh my God, we're going to Disney World. Oh, and then they also could back file for 2 more years, so we don't get another 2,000 on top of that. And we're like, oh my God. And then I'm telling you, dude, we're walking through the parking lot going, oh my God, this is amazing. And I went, that's money out of my pocket. I mean, I'm borrowing money this year from her dad to help pay some bills, and the government's holding on to $8,000 that I could have used to pay bills.
Well, and the worst part is the government knows how much they owe us, and yet they have all these convoluted forms that we have to do and to fill out, because they're not going to turn around and be like, oh, we owe you more money. No, they're just going to be like, we're going to keep your money because you didn't ask for it back.
Yep. And the IRS is a monopoly because there aren't any other companies that control your money like that. So therefore, it's a monopoly. That's my personal opinion on that. I just wanted to get that out there.
So random kids throwing in anything beyond minimum necessary for government cost is theft. Now, here's why I hate the idea. Actually, Joe, I didn't get your answer. What's your answer?
You.
Too bad. It's time for me and SongHeart to talk. No, I'm sorry. That was just funny. Go ahead. What's your answer, Joe?
So anything. Well, ideally, your best tax return is net zero. That's what you should aim for, realistically. And so, if you got to bump up your, like, if you fill out your W-2s normally, you're not going to be at net zero. You're probably going to get a couple thousand back, depending on how many kids you have. And so, I actually bump up my number a little bit. I don't try to go for zero per se, even though I probably should, because I really don't want to owe anything. But I do try to minimize it to a certain degree. And so I've bumped up my allowances on my W-2 a bit more than what the form itself recommends. That way they take out fewer taxes throughout the year. But yeah, even still, I usually get a couple thousand back when we do our taxes. But yeah, I've got some friends that they are very much determined to aim for net zero, period. And even if they have to owe a couple of thousand, they would rather do that than let the government sit on their money.
That's dumb. I'm just gonna be the cranky dad. That's hurt. Okay, so I agree with net zero, right?
So
not the old email system, but actually, where you put in money.
Well, so there's things you can do even if you run into owing 1,000. you can turn around and do things to earn more tax breaks to bring it to net zero. Like my in-laws, a couple of years they've run into where they've owed a couple of thousand afterwards, and they have gone out of their way to find ways to get additional tax breaks, like sticking money in like an IRA, I think gets you some tax breaks and things like that, so that it reduces your taxable income and therefore reduces how much you owe at the when it comes tax time. So there are some things even after the year is over, when you start working on your taxes, that you can do to prevent yourself from owing money to the government. I don't know all those different loopholes, but there are ways.
But so I can get it, and Devo is right there with you a little bit. Net zero, of course. Devo popped in and said, "No, I made the joke about it's a defunct internet service." Here's the you said it. The problem is you don't know. You don't know, so you don't know what money you're leaving on the table. And I don't know about every other country, but I know many other countries. Like you said, they know exactly what you owe. They send you a bill for it. You take care of it. Or it's pulled out exactly throughout the year or whatever. I mean, it's very straightforward, very transparent, easy. It's a massive problem here in the U.S. But at the end of the day, because I don't want to get on the government's radar for any reason that I don't have to, I don't want to owe them anything. I'd rather think I'm leaving money on the table and they're stealing it from me, because I can go about my day being happy with that thought than to go, I owe them a couple thousand and now I got to make payments, and now I'm on their radar because they want their money and they will get their money 100%.
Yeah. And how many years are you supposed to keep your documents for? Isn't it like 5 years? Seven? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
So I mean, way too many loopholes, problems, all that stuff. I get it, especially if you're the kind of person like I absolutely was, that extra 6,000 was not necessarily going to go pay for bills. I mean, it would have paid some for sure, but I'd have done stupid stuff with it. So when you get it back,
roughly an extra 500 a month, you could have definitely used that when you think of it that way.
I didn't say I couldn't use it. I just would have used it for dumb stuff, not just bills. So I'm not riding my high horse, is all I'm saying.
But
so
do you think you would have used it for more dumb stuff if you had gotten it along the way than if you got in than getting it in the one lump sum?
So I know this is not Daddy Tell Me a Story. I'm going to tell you a story anyway. I sure would. When my wife, we call it our single years. It's not when we were singles, but before we had kids. So we were just together without kids. In those years,
the honeymoon phase.
I mean, we're still I mean, I don't know. I had a joke and I lost it. So we would do dumb things. We were bad with our money. We weren't managing our money well, and we're making dumb decisions. And it was a cycle of, we got to tighten now. We got to be smart. We got to be right, without true management of the money. And so you just felt tight and repressed. And then you would always explode out of it and do something stupid with money. Then you regret it. It's that guilt cycle, right? So, random kid says, honeymoon face, more like moonshine face, right, Charles? So we're doing this guilt cycle. Number. So you want to ask what dumb stuff I did? We'd go to Walmart at midnight. Back in those days, you'd go to Walmart at midnight and it'd be open.
That was the time.
Right. And that was the time. Less people there. We had the way our work schedules worked, that we'd have days where we didn't have to go to work. Mine was 24 on, 48 off. Hers was Monday through Friday. So she get off work at 11 on like a Friday. We go to Walmart on midnight or something like that, whatever. And so we'd walk in just to kind of go entertain ourselves and do something other than watching TV. And Devo, I know I'm out of order. This is my show, man. Stop it. The short version is we walked into Walmart and said, okay, let's make a deal. You find something up to $100 and I'll buy something up to $100 and we'll be even. We did not have $200+ in our account. We were pulling from a savings or from a or from bills or from a credit card. But we were in that guilt release cycle, and that was what we do to kind of entertain ourselves. So yes, Joe, I think I would have done some really dumb things. I definitely got better as we got older and did more with our lives. And now I absolutely try to shoot for zero. Honestly, the government makes it hard. It makes it really hard. I have 4 kids. I'm only claiming 3 this year because my oldest is 19 and out of school and all that.
And you don't want to claim him anymore.
I
hear you. I hear you.
I mean, you've heard some of the stories. You know, you've met him. So yeah, but it is difficult. But what we have done, so I will throw that out to everybody. Coming back to the question, what we have done is, no, when I say it's difficult with we don't even own a house anymore. But we have the kids, we have some other write-offs. I'm on business, so we do write-offs that way. We still get multiple thousands of dollars back every year. And well, we'll see this year. I made a lot of good money this past year, so we'll see. But the whole point is, we said, okay, that money has already been quote finger spent, right? It came out of the paycheck through the year. We didn't have it for bills. We made it through the year. So we go ahead and allocate that money in envelopes throughout the year for stuff we want to do. Kids, summer camps. We patron the arts. So we have memberships at the High Art Museum in Atlanta, not Piedmont Park, the gardens, the botanical gardens and different stuff like that. Maybe a vacation. So we take that free money, right? That cash that was mine to begin with. And we go ahead and say, well, since we're already paying our bills on everything else, we try to then do the extra fun stuff. So there's something there.
I mean, the government would just spend it on a grant for some nonsensical research study. Like, they did some hypothetical.
This is not bad dad joke time, by the way. I feel like setup is coming.
This
Are you
isn't.
sure? I got a few.
The government has spent stuff on like hypothetical studies. If like Thanos actually had snapped half the population, what would the impact be on the infrastructure of the United States? Like they've spent stuff on dumb studies like that have no bearing on the government. Like why? Just why?
Yeah.
Roll that dice.
Only if
All
you
right.
want to.
All right, Bobby.
SongHeart's getting consent throughout the whole show. I love it. That's what lady daddies do.
Hey, Charles, you were wrong, by the way.
Bad dad jokes.
It's your favorite segment. and we have lots of bad dad jokes from the one, the only Devo site. He called them in just for you. All right, should we start with SongHeart? SongHeart, do you want to do a bad dad joke first? All right, go.
Yeah. What do you call a fake noodle?
Ooh. What?
An impasta.
You like that way too much. You and Joe are way.
So
too
my
sophisticated.
friend said to me, "What rhymes with orange?" I said, "No, it doesn't."
That's
right. What doesn't rhyme with orange?
Scotch glass is empty. Scotch glass.
Listen,
This is.
I got a couple more.
Whoa! How many are we going to do tonight? Devo called in like 50. You got a couple more. Let me tell you. I don't. This one. So if Joe's going to insist on this topic every time,
every time,
all right, the bad
It's a
gadget.
good topic.
Our audience demands it.
We need to get a sponsor. We need this topic to be brought to you by, a Bullet Bourbon or a Brewer's Scotch. Just so it can be. So I can just be sipping my Scotch and be in my mental happy place while y'all berate me with these horrible, horrible jokes. So it's out there. Please, some bourbon company sponsor this segment because it's killing me.
Listen. I'm so good at sleeping, I can do it with my eyes closed.
Oh, Charles.
I'll do one more and then I'll let Joseph do his. It takes guts to be an organ donor.
Oh my God.
You should appreciate that one being in the field you're in, Charles. Oh. All right. And then These ones are going to come to us from Devo Site, who says it's just for you, Charles, just for you.
What did the tree say when it got stuck on a test question?
What,
I'm
Devo?
stumped.
I seriously do not understand y'all's obsession with this page.
You know, Random Kid had a good idea. You were talking about a sponsor
Scotch
before.
Level. It sounds like new patron level, the Scotch level.
Scotch level, patron level. Yeah. Brought
Maybe
to you
you
by.
Yeah.
Be like, all the funds from that are going towards Charles's Scotch. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Last night I got a hold of my
You know,
Japanese whiskey again. I was down in Macon and went to the nice Asian fusion. Now I'm gonna tell a fun story to cleanse the palate, okay? Let's see. Oh, it's another other phone, but the bottle has a silver samurai, like a full-on samurai head and shoulder pads as the cap to the bottle. And it was nice and smooth. So I'm just saying, all right, Joe, the palate's cleansed. What can you do?
Nice and smooth, just like this from Devo Site.
What do you get when you cross a snowman with a shark? Frostbite.
Added the laugh in there.
That's also a really horrible Mountain Dew flavor, in my opinion. Frostbite.
I didn't even know that was a Mountain Dew flavor.
It is. I don't care.
Now I gotta go try it. I hate Mountain Dew, but I gotta try it now.
Oh, all right. So we still got 3 more to go from Devo Site.
Kurt, I know you've been working out and found a book that you might be interested in reading. It's called How to Run a Marathon by Many Miles.
I wonder if that's something Kurt would be interested in, running a marathon. 2 more. 2 more.
Charles, you were saying that Joe is a jinx, but I want to point out that Joe and Jonah sound very similar. Those are the facts.
All right, there goes the headphones.
One more.
One more, Charles. Just for you.
Charles, I'm with you. Would you rather? They're terrible. I pride myself on being pretty good at pivoting, doing what needs to be done in the circumstance and the situation. Would you rather? Just the constraints are irrational often and doesn't make any sense. So, now I'm going to pass on. Would you rather?
Okay. I guess that one wasn't a dad joke. I just loaded it up.
I got another dad joke, so we can end on a dad joke.
Roll that die.
Charles is like,
I don't eggs tell jokes.
Daddy.
Because they crack each other up.
Am I the butt face?
You are, SongHeart. You are.
This one.
Stay tuned for this commercial break.
Oh, Lord. Jeez. All right. You know what? SongHeart, you get to pick 1 through 7. 1 through 7.
4.
Here we go. Here's the commercial break music just to chill.
Oh, I picked a good one.
Yeah, you did. So look, everybody, you want to get to the Scotch Katir level. You want to help me get through these bad dad joke segments, which is very painful. Patreon.com/wise_n_nerdy. That'll let you show some support for the show. And let me self-medicate while these two and others beat me up with their jokes.
Hey, no. My friend just told me another one.
He turns up the music. You know, there's a great place even after the show that you can submit your bad dad jokes, SongHeart.
Call your daddy and leave a voicemail. wiseandnerdy.com/call dad.
And look, if you really want to share the love for the show, that would really help us out. We would love to have you come out live Thursday nights, hang out with us, share that love. It is linktr.ee/wise_n_nerdy. Has all of our links there, from the Patreon to the Discord to everything else. So come join us, hang out, and share your nerdom like Lady Daddy Songtree here tonight.
Hi.
So we've got the next segment. Joseph, roll that dice and let's find out.
Alrighty.
Daddy, can tell me a story?
Oh. Yeah, I have a story for you guys.
Okay, well, let me set it up. Oh no. Oh no. This story is about the time. Did my dad submit this? Because this is about the time my son pulled a fire alarm at the doctor's office. I'm just curious. So, no, this is yours, huh, SongHeart?
Yeah, this is mine.
He pulled a Jamal Bowman.
This happened just a couple months ago. We were at the doctor's office, and it's one of those big doctor's offices that also has its own pharmacy. And so I was at the pharmacy. We had already gone to his appointment. I was getting his prescription. He has ADHD, so I was getting his meds. And he was doing so good. And all of a sudden, the fire alarm goes off. I had just gotten up to the counter, and the fire alarm goes off. We all walk outside. And then he turns and says to me, because I figured we would wait in the car, because I know that when fire alarms go off, they got to check everything in case it's a real emergency. As we're heading to the car, he says to me, "Mom, I set off the fire alarm." I said, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, I set off the fire alarm. I didn't know. I thought it'd be funny. I didn't know they'd have to empty the whole building, so we had to stand around and wait." But I did tell the official looking people that were coming out. I was like, "My son did it." They're like, "Did he do this one by the pharmacy?" I said, "Yeah, that's where we were." So it was a lot less time standing outside than it could have been, because they didn't have to check every little thing. But it was really embarrassing for me. And then he felt really bad because he didn't know that everybody would have to come out. And seeing everybody having to leave this big doctor's office, he's like, "Oh."
Oh man.
So
I've told a similar story on this show. Do you remember, Charles?
Uh-huh.
Where I accidentally called the police on our
Accidentally.
while I was working at Burger King. Oh, SongHeart, you may not know, just as a brief little tidbit. I saw what I thought was a garage door opener underneath the cashier's the till, and no one had told me what it was. In hindsight, I definitely should have known, but I was just like click click clickety click click click, and then I just kept taking orders. You know, I was fidgeting, as it were, as I do every week on the podcast with the dice that I just keep spinning in my hand. Yeah, the cops came. It was fun time.
Yeah, clickety clickety click click was Morse code for help. We're being robbed. You hit the silent alarm button at Burger King. That's why they even came. Like, Burger King, let them get robbed. Who cares?
I'm gonna have to listen to that song that Devo site said. There's a song called "Bad Ideas Make the Best Memories." I'll have to give that a listen to.
True.
What do you do now, Joe? What do you do now?
I could tell you about the time that I forgot oranges grew on trees. So I was with my ex. This was like 11 years ago. And we were driving to California from Utah. And we drove through Nevada and then through the top of California. And it was really cool. Liked it a lot. And all of a sudden we're driving along and I see these little orange ball things on the trees. And I'm just like, what are the orange things on the trees? Because I'm from Utah and we don't have orange trees in Utah. X was from California, was used to oranges on the trees, thought maybe I was talking about ribbons or something like that. He's like, "Well, she can't be talking about the oranges, so what are you talking about?" We spent an hour going back and forth with me being like, "How can you not see the orange things on the trees?" And him being like, There are no orange things on the trees. Finally, he says to me, because we were getting really mad at each other. Finally, he says to me, "Do you mean the oranges?" And they're just, I just felt so stupid. Let me tell you, it was like, oh yeah, because I'd never seen a real orange tree before. Yeah, his
man.
family has never let me live that down.
I mean, you know, when you're digging pecans out of the ground, that's hard work. But orange trees, you know, it's right there.
Yeah.
I agree with Random Kid over here. Did you see that? I too forget that pineapples don't
I
grow
did
on
too.
trees.
They grow on bushes, right?
They grow on the ground. Yeah.
I
So,
learned that from the Sims Castaway Nintendo DS game.
well, there you go.
The things that we learn from our video games is something else. It is that thing. Oh, I had the volume turned down. I hit a button, but it didn't work.
Roll that dice.
All right. I'm taking your advice, Charles, and I'm rolling 2 at a time so that I don't have to keep rolling until we get one. All right.
Wait, now
Let
let's tell that story for a
decide.
second. Yeah, Daddy will decide in a second. Daddy's deciding to rail on his other daddy right now. So weeks ago, because it keeps coming up on every show. Well, we've already done that one. Roll 2 or 3 dice, Joe. Come on. And then we were at the live show at Chattacon, and the audience said, let's roll 2 dice. And that's only then did Joe go, yeah, maybe it's a great thing.
Yep. Great thing.
Stupid. All right. So, Daddy, let Daddy decide. What? How do I?
Yep.
How do I? Oh, this worked out perfect. So, SongHeart, as she was talking to us in the Patreon section about how she started her own business and what she's working on with crocheting. And so, we want to ask you, SongHeart, how do I start my own business? And of course, tell us about your business as you do that.
Well, first you have to decide what you want to do.
I'm out.
Charles wants to
you
do
can
everything.
change
So
your mind as many times as you want. And what a lot of people don't know is you can have more than one business at the same time. A lot of people don't realize that. That's something I just learned through the process of learning more about how to make my business more profitable. I have a crochet business. Currently, I make a bunch of stuff. This is a fidget I made. It's a Mobius strip. So it has one side. Let me see if I can. Yeah. So you just pull on this bit continuously and it never stops. It just pulls and pulls and pulls. Never ever stops because there's no end. Anyway, so I like the fidget because it enables me to keep my hands busy while I'm chatting with you guys. But I also have made this dragon, this little baby luck dragon patterned by Crafty Intentions, made by me. But I like it. It's fun. I've made bigger dragons. I'm trying to make a tiny one. It's hard to make the tiny ones because it's harder to see the stitches, but it still works. I've made cloaks, shawls, hats, unicorns. Pretty much you name it, I could probably make it.
sweet.
Yeah. I have been working on it for 5+ years, but did not have a good living environment at the time. And now that my living environment has become much better, I'm getting better relationships, been working on my mental health, and that has really caused my business to pick up. But one thing I also found is something I'm doing now that I wasn't doing really before is I'm marketing myself. I'm telling people about my business and what I'm doing. And people are like, oh, can I commission this? And I'm like, yes. So it's important to market yourself. You can start a business without, with with nothing. If you have a phone and can take pictures, that's it. That's really all you need. Because then you can take pictures and upload them to whatever social media you're using for it. But the other thing is, once you start getting traction, and this is what I'm having to deal with now that I'm actually getting a customer base, is you got to look into the laws where you live, as far as,
Oh yeah.
especially me where I work from home, I have to look into my city's laws as to what kind of business license I need. Is there any special provisions I need because I work from home for my business? Are there any, like, you got to look into how to file your taxes. I have not made enough with my business yet to file taxes. I've made like $200. So that's it. And I think if I remember right, you need to make at least 600 with the business to file for it. But then the other thing you got to do, got to file for the business name. That's important so that the business becomes its own entity, so that if for whatever reason your business goes under, it gets audited, that it doesn't tie into your personal funds. It's just the business's funds. And
Yeah,
that's
like a LLC, and then you get some separate.
mhm. Yep.
LLC stands for limited liability corporation, so
Mhm.
it keeps you from losing your house in case something goes wrong with your
Mhm.
business. Yeah.
Yes, and not yet, Random Kid. I haven't yet made enough. I haven't yet gotten confident enough to sell on Etsy. I feel like I need more income because of Etsy's fees. But Etsy is a great place to sell for handmade anything, whether it's crochet like I do, or knitting, or wood burning, or wood carving, or modeling clay, resin, soaps, whatever. If you make it with your hands, you can sell it on Etsy. So they are a great resource. Um, I'm trying to think what else. Depending on what you're wanting your business to be, maybe look into if there are resources to help your business be better than what you know how to do on your own. For instance, I
Yeah.
do I do crochet. I found out last year about Pam Grice, who is known as the Crochetpreneur. She's like the head honcho in crochet, and she now helps other crocheters make profitable businesses with their crochet. Um, so that's something worth looking into when you're starting a business. Is there resources on making this work better than what I know how to do? So that's important, because something that I found, because like I said, I've been working on it for 5+ years and just really now getting traction, is you need to actually do it. It's work. Yes, I love to crochet. It's good for my mental health. It makes me happy. But in order to have started making any money, I needed to market myself. And
Mhm.
you need to sit down and make a schedule of times when you can sit and work on your business. And you need to decide, is it your work or is it your hobby? So, like, are you planning to make a living from your business, or is it a hobby and you're just kind of making side money? If you're planning on making a living from it, then you need to treat it as a job. When you are working on your business, in my case, when I am crocheting, I am at work. I can't just be interrupted for whatever, even though I do work at home and I do have 2 kids. They know when I'm crocheting, that's what I'm doing. Now, granted, I crochet in like half hour, 45-minute increments so that I can be interrupted as needed, but that's what works for me. Um, for whatever business you're working on, you need to find what works for you and how your schedule works for you. I know there's other crocheters who are also moms who find that they crochet most at night after the kids have gone to bed or while the kids are in school. I have a troubled kid, so he's not currently in school. We are working on that, but because of circumstances right now, he's not able to be in school. So I have one that goes to school and one that stays at home. So I've had to figure out my work crochet schedule around that. And one thing that working at home and having my own business has enabled me to do is be able to, if I need to interrupt it for whatever, I can. But I have found over the past few months that by treating it as a job, it has started gaining more traction.
Good.
And so that is where the success lies in it. If you want a successful business, you have to treat it as work. Even if you enjoy it, even if you love everything about it, you still have to treat it as work. Find time to market, find time. And as much as people don't want to talk about it, you got to write down your expenses. You got to write down what you're spending on where. One, so you can do it for your taxes, but two, so that you can budget appropriately. And there are so many different ways for artisans like myself to set their prices and hold their funds in that there's no one set way. What I have found though is if I take the majority of what I make and use it for me and put back a small portion to the business, that the business stays on top of where I need it to be and I still get play money.
Nice.
But yeah, and I enjoy it. It's not a lot right now because, like I said, I don't have a huge customer base. I'm selling one item at a time right now. It's not a big deal to me though, because I am fortunate enough to live at my mother's house and don't have to pay rent. So I have been privileged in that way. But at the same time, if now my experience is mostly with the handmade industry because I crochet. So I can't speak to businesses that do like landscaping or things like that. But in the artistry and handmade industry, something that Random Kid did just bring up is handmade items are more expensive. Why are they more expensive? Because they're made by hand and take longer to make than with a machine. Something that non-crocheters do not know. If the item was crocheted, it was handmade. There is no such thing as a crochet machine. They have not made the machine that can completely do everything that crochet does. So if you see a crocheted item, it was handmade. If it was at Walmart that you saw this item, it was still handmade. Just the artisan was severely ripped off in how much they were paid.
Probably made in China.
Yep, because crochet is one.
Oh, did we lose her?
I
She
accidentally
crocheted
pushed
her
my
button.
Sorry,
She
I pushed my button
crocheted her
on
mouth shut. I don't know what happened. It's a horrible crocheting accident.
Yeah.
Never before seen on the internet.
But yeah,
No.
crochet is really what I know, so it's what I talk about the most. But for instance, could you make a dragon like this with a machine? Of course. Would it look exactly like this? Absolutely not, because this was crocheted, and the posing and stitching on this can only be achieved by hand. And so, as such, yes, this item is small at Walmart, maybe $10. I wouldn't sell this for less than 20 because of the work that went into it. And 20 is kind of cheap in my opinion. I would but that's me. I'm selling this one a little bit cheap. This is more like If I was selling this for what it was actually worth, this is more like $30 to $35. Just because of the work and detail that went into it.
So how long did that take you to make? Because now I'm curious.
2.5 hours. But it was my first time making it.
Yeah. Okay.
So if I made a lot of these and got really familiar with the pattern, much less time. But I'd still charge $30 to $35.
Yeah, definitely.
So just because of the detail that goes into it. I have bigger ones. Let's see, this one's this big. So I have bigger ones that I would charge upwards of $100 of, because again, time and labor of how much. So it is on a little bit on the cheaper side, Random Kid. I do tend to undersell myself. I try not to. I am still working on it. But
Ooh, that's a question for another show. How do I value myself appropriately?
Mm-hmm.
It's very
basically
difficult.
if you think it's too expensive, it's too cheap. So I'm not kidding. I know it sounds funny and it's hilarious, but if you have a handmade item and you're thinking maybe $30, you should probably be selling it for 40 to 60. So, but that's because you want to get paid for your work. People that make things with their
Right.
hands are artists and they deserve to be paid for their work, whether it's a painting, crochet, knitting, clay, resin, soap, whatever. It's work and it's a skill. For instance, I tried learning how to make soap because I got into soap making as a hobby because I also have ADHD and that looked like fun. It's not as easy as it looks. There's a certain process where you're mixing all the ingredients together, and if you mix them too long, the soap is too hard. If you mix it too not long enough, then the soap takes forever to dry. There's a process in making soap that everybody's like, oh, you just mix the ingredients together and it works. No, it's so much more complicated, and that's just soap. So imagine all the other things that go into all these handmade items that people that don't make things don't even realize. So sorry, I get kind of passionate. Sorry.
I like it. So you do this one at a time. You do this by hand, and it is a job, and it's picking up traction. But how do you scale it, or how do you make it a boutique to where you're not selling 50 at a time? You're selling each individual thing, and even doing. I guess the goal would even be to be commissioned to do everything that you do.
I do commissions partly because I feel like, me personally, I don't crochet fast enough to have a bunch of items to sell as a vendor at like cons or other events. I know there are a lot of crocheters that will go to cons or festivals in order to make their money, and they'll go to like 3 or 4 a year because they're fast crocheters. I'm not quite that fast. That's one of the reasons I have started picking up commissions, because I did want to be a vendor, but I'm not that fast. I'm faster with like garments like shawls, hats, cloaks, and things. But I can only make so many of those before I get bored, and then I move on to my dragons and things, and they take longer because they're more detailed. So as far as marketing, and it really depends on your make style. So I know there are some people that depend solely on commissions and they do really well. They've done well for years. That's what they do. And then there's other people that they don't do commissions. They make a whole bunch of a set amount of item and that's what they sell until they need more. They work on their Christmas lineup in the spring and their spring lineup during Christmas. And
Interesting.
Because if you work on Christmas during Christmas, you don't have anything to sell.
Right.
So, so they'll work on different holidays at different times of the year, and then they have a revolving rotation of items, which is a great idea. I have tried to do that. My brain doesn't like that. My brain says, I want to make this thing. So that's what I do.
That, and then there's that almost makes it artistry because you're making it because you want to make it. Then somebody falls in love with it, they can buy it.
Yep.
Type of deal. So you do commissions, I think is what you're saying. Yeah.
Yep.
So,
I do commissions. I do
can you
some.
crochet that? Can you crochet our logo?
Oh, I'm not that good. I could. I would have to put it into a graph and learn how to do graph crochet, which I looked into, want to do, feel very intimidated by. So while I could do it, it would take a while, but I could do that.
So for the podcast listeners, I put up our logo in big form with Joe and I as our anime characters. So,
well, and if any of our listeners wanted to reach out to you to commission something, how can they do that?
I have a Facebook page. Let me make sure of what the name is. It's Caught in Strings and Things. I'm going to put it in the chat. Hang on. Oh, I can't put it in the chat. I will put it in the private chat.
And we'll put it in
put it in the chat.
There
So caught like catching a fish.
So
all right,
we'll take care of that for sure.
The name may change at some point. I haven't decided yet.
Fair enough. Caught in strings
and things.
Yep.
All right.
It's like a double play on cotton being yarn, but also like being caught in strings because I crochet.
I like it. I like it. It sounds like you nerd out somewhat.
I do nerd out quite a
bit. So we have a section just for that. Joe, I believe it's time for you to hit that button.
Okay.
What are you nerding out about now?
Look, don't hit his button if you can't even be bothered to show up.
What are you nerding out about?
Yeah, they didn't go to Chattacon. Let's try again.
What are you nerding out about now?
All right.
It's random.
It is as random as bad dad jokes there. So, Joe, you were excited. You jumped in early. What are you nerding out about this week?
So I have dipped my toes into video editing, and what I'm doing is super simple. It's not anything crazy yet, but I am starting to learn as I go. But I've started chopping up our Wise and Nerdy episodes into the different segments and posting them on a new channel that we've created called WNN Clips, Wise and Nerdy Clips. And yeah, so I've been chopping those up and been releasing a video a day on there. And so far, so good. I think we've already got 3 subscribers, even though I only started this last week. So we're cruising.
I'm one of those subscribers.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So we made a whole different channel is what you're saying.
Yes.
Not like a sub channel.
It is technically a sub channel. It's still connected to our email address for Wise and Nerdy.
That's a weird looking C on our artwork.
It is the font that you chose. So
I told you don't listen to me. So here's the thing though. I hate when fonts do this, right? Every other letter there, like if you looked at the background wall that says Wise and Nerdy behind SongHeart, you can see. Then on this one, every letter looks great. C is like, what is that? What is that? Is that a raindrop? Raindrop lips? I don't understand. But all right, so let's talk about that process. What is making you so happy about this?
It's a skill that I've wanted to have for a long time. Like I tried it a tiny bit with when I was doing my Pokemon Emerald playthrough that was just for the patrons. I did a tiny bit of video editing in that, but not hardly at all. But it's a skill that I've wanted to have for a while, and so it's just, I don't know, when you start learning a new skill that you've wanted to learn, it's fun, and so it's been fun playing with it. I'm using a free software called Clipchamp. It's not very robust, and it has a bunch of premium features that I'm not going to pay for. But the free version of it does what I need it to do, and yeah, so I clip stuff up, I add text to it. I'm gonna keep playing around with the different features and see what else I can have fun with. And so there may be a time when you're like, Joe, that's too much, dial it back. But I'm just gonna have fun with it.
Have fun with it, man. I don't know that we can get the too much. I know we're looking at an app called Opus Clips that'll help us with the social media stuff. I'm looking through here right now, and it had there it is. It has time frames on it, so anything under 10 minutes can go on TikTok. And I see you did a bad dad joke that's 2 minutes and those kind of things. So we can definitely start taking your clips and posting them on. I'll help post them on TikTok there, and I love it. So yeah, if you want to just catch the little bits of the show, go over to youtube.com/@WNN clips and or drop lips, whatever you want to call it. It's fine. So we'll bounce back and forth. I am nerding out about the new trailer I saw today. It's for a brand new version of Roadhouse. And
you're a big fan of the original Roadhouse.
I am, but I'm a big fan of the principles it taught. Be nice until it's time to not be nice. When is it time to not be nice? I'll let you know. Is how that goes. And the whole idea of cleaning things up, passive it's like judo. What is it called? Like, it's not passive aggressivity. It's like, you don't have to fight. You keep guiding people around until you get what you needed. Chris Betcher says that was a great movie. I agree. Roadhouse was a fantastic movie. The new one, I think, it's got me a little bit excited because it changed everything except the principles of it.
Okay.
Right. The principle of it still is there's a fighter who, well, in this case, he's like a UFC MMA fighter, right? And I think it's Jake Gyllenhaal. That's who's playing the role. And but his whole thing is still kind of that vibe of, man, I'm not here to fight, and doing the silly things like just dodging punches from people, but his life's kind of a wreck a little bit. And this person tries to hire him. She has a Roadhouse. It's got the wrong clientele. They're tearing things up. He needs them to come in. The same basic principle. Needs them to come in and help. And
is that the one that Peter Griffin references in that one episode where he's like, Roadhouse?
Probably.
Yeah. Well, you're Peter Griffin in real life, so
I am not.
But random kid says, well, I hope it's good. I'm tired of all the remakes. I wish Hollywood would try to make something new and original. Now, I will say, yes, all of that. But also the niche audience who will never know Roadhouse, the original, will probably watch this movie and enjoy it. So that's fair. It's been 30 years, man. I mean, things get redone every 30. But I like that they didn't try to touch on anything. Like, there was no clear other than it's a Roadhouse, and he's a kind of a washed up guy who can fight, but that heart was there. The heart of passive resistance, but he can also fight and this and another. It looks promising, is what I'll say. And I'm a huge fan of Roadhouse, so it's treading some dangerous waters, but I do like that it didn't really even try to get close, other than, again, what I said. So what else, Joe? What else you got nerding out here?
I don't have anything else, but I know
I've been nerding out about Final Fantasy. I'm going to interrupt you, Joe. Sorry.
I think Charles thought that was me.
I know it's an older game, but I've just recently started gaming again, and my friend introduced me to it, and I've really been enjoying it a lot. What I like about it is it's free up to level 70, and so you get a lot of playtime in.
That's
I really
a lot
like
of play. What's the max level?
I have no idea, but I only know that after level 70, you have to pay for it. But I've been playing it for about 2 weeks, and I've made 2 characters, and I'm only at level 20 on each of them. So there's a lot of play. It's really fun. I've never played MMORPG before, so it's like my first experience with that.
Have you played Final Fantasy before.
I did. I played one of the Final Fantasy Advance games. I think it was 6.
Jason says Final Fantasy 14 level 90 max. So level 70 is really close to max.
Yeah.
Random Kid says Final Fantasy 14 is a ton of fun. I never got into that one at all, just because of the online aspect of it. I really like the Final Fantasies where it was just me playing the game and doing that kind of thing.
I
that was a lot of
mostly
fun.
played by myself, but it's still enjoyable.
Do you ever get bored playing by yourself? Like, do you
No.
play music or watch some TV? You just like
No,
diving in?
I get totally absorbed in whatever games I'm playing. It's like I'm like totally absorbed until my fingers start hurting, and then I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is a game." So that's my ADHD hyper focus kicking in. Like, oh, I got to do this. So I try to only play Final Fantasy in the morning before my kids wake up. So I'll play for maybe half hour, 45 minutes till they wake up, because once they're awake, I can't be as fully immersed into it as I like to be, because I have to listen to see if they're fighting.
Yeah, if it gets too quiet, it's not because they're having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Joe, have you ever played Final Fantasy?
Final Fantasy, yes. Final Fantasy 14, no. Lately, I've been playing a lot of Kingdom Hearts, and I mentioned that because for anyone who doesn't know, Square Enix is one of the partners for Kingdom Hearts. Square Enix makes Final Fantasy, and a lot of the Final Fantasy characters, specifically from 7, 8, and 9, appear in the Final Fantasy or in the Kingdom Hearts games. I don't know if more than that. I've only played like 4 of the Kingdom Hearts games. I'm working my way through them now. My son got them for Christmas, so. But yeah, my big problem with the Kingdom Hearts games is the lag, because it's a cloud version, and so you stream the game off of Nintendo's cloud. And I did today. I bought an adapter for my Switch dock so that I can directly hook up my Switch to my router, but we'll see if that alleviates any of the lag issues, or if it was never my internet to begin with and it was always on Nintendo's end. We'll see. So, but yeah,
I've heard good things about Kingdom Hearts, but I've never played it.
Yeah, Kingdom Hearts is a lot of fun. It's Disney. Well, it's primarily Disney, but there is some Final Fantasy influence in it as well.
Cool.
I like Kingdom Hearts a lot. And I although I'd never played the newest one, I will say with Switch, I love the Switch a lot, but there's just some things just don't do it. You know, something heavy duty like the Final Fantasy games, or like we were at a thrift shop in North Carolina this weekend, and they had a lot of Switch games, and they had the Borderlands games. It's like, oh, hey, Borderlands, because she knows a lot of Borderlands. Like, yeah, no, they run and look like crap on the Switch, because the Switch wasn't built for that. It was built for stuff like, well, I mean, I think Kingdom Hearts would probably do great on the Switch, but you know, the Breath of the Wilds and some other things. There's very specific styles that you need to do on it.
You got to remember, most of the Kingdom Hearts games, and I don't know some of the later ones, but at least the originals, that was PlayStation 2 and Game Boy games. And so, like, if the Switch couldn't handle that, that would be real pathetic.
Game Boy was so good, though. I never played it on a Game Boy, but I miss my Game Boy.
Uh-oh.
I like
my
Final
controversial
Fantasy.
opinion.
I don't see it as controversial. I like Final Fantasy 8 more than 7, but that's because 8 was my first. 8 was the first one that I played and beat in the Final Fantasy series, so that's why I like it more.
Yeah, I liked 8 quite a bit. So I liked 7. I did. I just liked 8 more.
And you know why everybody's scared of that? Because 7, 8, 9. I heard the setup coming. Stop it.
But why did 7 eat 9?
SongHeart.
Because 7 knew you needed 3 square meals a day.
Just no. You guys like casinos?
Yeah, who doesn't like a casino? I've been in a casino on a boat. That was so fun.
I've
Sorry,
never actually been in a casino, but whenever we have employee appreciation days, they hire I mean, it's not real money, but they hire casino people to come and set up, and we can play poker and stuff. But it's not real money.
there's a casino on a boat on a river in Missouri. It's so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember where. I just remember it was in Missouri, and it was on a boat. It was so much fun.
It definitely can be. My wife and I love casinos. I've taken her to Vegas once. We go. Biloxi is about 6-7 hours from our house. That's on the Mississippi coast. And since Katrina, and then shortly after that, COVID, it's not quite the same there. Cherokee Harris, North Carolina is 4 hours from us, but they really think their rooms are why people come there and not to gamble. So it's very hard to go there because their rooms are insanely expensive. But this weekend we're picking up our anniversary trip, and I like just going new places. And let's go to a town. Let's find some stuff nearby. And so I picked out Greensboro, North Carolina, because we could go over to Virginia. We could drive to different things and do different things. And we just across the border in Virginia was something I wanted to do. And so she started looking just for food or whatever. And the first thing that came up was Caesar's Casino, because apparently the state of Virginia in the last year passed gambling laws. So 5 or 6 major casinos are building in all the different areas in Virginia. And the Caesar's Palace is building a really big casino. But in the meantime, when I say tent, think like circus level tent. I mean, this thing was a massive tent. It was a really big place, and my wife was worried even then that it'd be too crowded and full. It was not. I mean, it was doing just fine, but it had every amenity basically that a regular casino has, except good food. It was overpriced food court, and smoke ventilation. Like they'll let you smoke in there. And most casinos have really good ventilation. So unless you're sitting right next to somebody, it doesn't bother you. But it was definitely not there. But we had so much fun, and we played a lot of games. And man, I was on a roll. There's at least 3 or 4 times I won $300, and but we kept playing. So we walked in with like 450, walked out with 150. So after like 6 hours of play, but we're slot machine people. Love a couple of different ones of them. There's I forget what it's called. There's a fish game where you feed the fish as as the slots spin, you get the fish, and as they get bigger, it's all psychological. It has nothing to do with they get so big it'll break the bowl, because it breaks the bowl, it goes into a bonus game. And but the fish can trigger at any size. So when they get really big, they like overfill the bowl and it cracks, and their eyeball just keeps moving, but they can't. It's very humorous. But my favorite is Little Shop of Horrors, because it's a 2-level game. You just randomly get these wilds that are videos from the movie. It's all the characters that line up to give you the jackpots and whatnot, and you feed Audrey too, right? That's the whole thing. The wilds feed Audrey, and it grows. But what I love most is the dumbest thing. It's the dumbest thing. What I love the most about it, it's not just he talks to you, and he every time he grows, he might trigger the bonus. But I mean, his vines can fill the whole screen. But while you're spinning and stuff, you can touch him, and he'll do kissy faces with hearts coming out. He'll like get bored with you. He'll tell you he'll make it worth your while, which is very creepy. But he says he laughs. He laughs a lot. And it's just so much fun. Like you're spinning and you just hit him and make him do stuff. And that's the one that I hit quite a bit on there. But we had a lot of fun. We had a ton of fun. And that's just my wife's way. Is she's looking at an area, and I had looked in the area for a bunch of stuff. No casinos ever popped up. But can you call me Seymour? Yeah. But the first thing she Googled, the casino came up. So it was a lot of fun. And it's about 5.5 hours from her house. So actually a little bit closer than Biloxi. And when they build out the hotel and casino, which is supposed to be April this year, but it didn't look like it was going to be April this year. We're probably going to go back later on, but it was a really cool trip and a lot of fun. And I got to tell you, when you can, save up your money, sell all the crochet dinosaurs you can sell, and
They're dragons. Sorry.
All right, that's it. I'm turning this car right around, SongHeart. That's the last time you'll look back to me.
Look, do you know any four-legged dinos with wings like this? This is obviously
Atreyu.
a dragon.
Follow these nerdy.
Find SongHeart. Where? Hurry.
You can find me at Cotton Strings and Things. I'm known everywhere now on the internet as SongHeart. I'm also at SongHeart Games on YouTube. That's me streaming Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance games, currently playing Mickey's Racing Adventure, starting to get bored, so we'll be changing to probably Animorphs next.
And now I'm back to being mad.
Follow these nerdy dads on social media. Charles at Rock God of Podcasting. Joe at Joseph_Ard. Check out the website, wiseandnerdy.com. And as always, they may not be your father, but they'll always be your daddy.
And lady daddies included.
I do have one last dad joke for you, Charles.
He's just like, ignore.
Listen, I got one last dad joke for you before I leave. Why can't a nose be 12 inches long?
Because then it would be a foot.
Yeah!
But hey, you like this? Bring a friend next week.